As the leader of the Booner Pad, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to the Crunch Time Sports Show with Jeff Iafrate and Booner. It's Wednesday, January 14th. There is a snowstorm going on right now, and Booner is driving in that snowstorm. So he will be joining us in a couple of minutes. It's the day of the doc. We'll have John Maakaron on. I just saw shit. Who said it? Streams only? Doc said he's going to be driving. I hope not. I hope the doc is not driving. I really hope he is not driving. For content purposes, and on top of that, for his safety. I mean, it's terrible outside. We have a lot to get to today. Mike McDaniel was seen leaving Detroit. He was in Detroit today. He interviewed yesterday, so he was here, another day. I'm not sure if that's important or not, but it's just that's what happened. On top of that, we have a massive report that I think should frustrate Lions fans, and I will get to that at some point before we get to the doc, because it frustrated me when I saw the report. If you're following me on Twitter, you probably know what that is. If you're not following me, you should be at Jeff Iafrate on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. Dan Orlovsky also addressed the Lions offensive coordinator job rumors of him taking it. At least Evan Fox trying to suggest he should take it. We have Dan O, his take on that. His take on, I guess, the rumors are not really rumors, but fan created rumors. So yeah, Mike McDaniel, by the way, when I get to it, this offensive coordinator / head coaching cycle is insane. It's absolutely insane. About half the league either needs a new head coach, or B, a new offensive play caller. But you could just say half the league needs an offensive play caller, because you're assuming that everyone that gets a head coaching gig will want their own play caller. So buckle up, folks. It's only going to get more interesting over the next couple of weeks. Let's bring in Boone. Boone's here. He is hanging out. Oh, and his mic's off.
No, I'm here.
All right. Boone driving in the blizzard. How we doing?
Oh, my gosh. Hey, I'll tell you what. Well, that's bright. There we go. Boone's there. Wow. What a thrill that was, huh, dude? For
Someone
people who...
the doc could be joining the show on the road. I don't what.
Who said that?
No.
He's going to be driving. He better not be driving, dude. It's crazy out there. Has anyone been outside? Dude, and if people who don't know, like, I work 3 days in the office where I work. I drive in. It's an hour drive, so it's 3 days. Isn't too bad. It took me 3 hours to get home today. I left at 5 o'clock. I just got back. I haven't even eaten dinner. But it was one of the most crazy roads conditions. I've been driving to work that far for 5 years now, and that was the worst it's ever been in my life. That was one of the craziest drives I've ever had. 3 hours. I've never experienced that in my life. White knuckles, isn't that what it's called? Like when you're like squeezing your hand, like the whole time, bro. And it was like everyone was like that. It was just like, this is one of the craziest moments of all time.
It's still coming down pretty bad. Is that what it's like?
Oh yeah, dude. And especially like for me, I mean, I guess I'm going up north. North, we get more snow than down in Detroit. I'm an hour north from the downtown. It's just like more snow up here. So it was just like kept getting worse. And they don't, and around where I live, they just refuse to be like, we're going to plow or put ice down or salt down. They like refuse. So yeah, no, I'm back, dude.
That's insane. There's no like, I refuse. It's essential to roads.
Yeah, no, it's the craziest thing. When I go down towards the city, I hit a certain part of like, you could see the county change. Like it goes from Lapeer County to Macomb County. And like, you could tell like if there's a snowstorm, I don't even have to look at signs. Like I know when I crossed into the new county because like the road's completely clear. And then it's like in my county, it's like, it's insane.
They ran out of ice guys in Booner's County.
Or they just don't have enough. They just never had enough.
Don't have an ice guy.
I'll do it, man. Give me one of those big trucks. So I haven't eaten dinner. So if you get an angry Booner, people in the chat, be prepared. I'm just kidding. I'm not angry. I love everyone.
No, honestly, I was telling the chat while we were waiting on you to hop on why I was kind of angry today seeing some of the reports. There's a report I want to bring up on the show that kind of pissed me off, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, I want to play this clip of Dan Orlovsky commenting on the Lions offensive coordinator job. He commented on it because he joined McAfee today. So they asked him about the Lions job, and his response sparked up more conversation. Let's take a listen to Dano's.
Evan Foxy of the Detroit Lions would like to speak.
Orlovsky, what the hell? I know you saw me stick my neck out for you and for the Lions OC job, and then you look at this list right here, and you look at all these teams. I mean, we have Goff, Gibbs, St. Brown, JMO, Monty, Laporta. The O-line is going to get better. You know MCDC is going to do this. And you have the audacity to say that the Chargers with Justin Herbert, who I don't believe has even won a playoff game, is the best position. And you know what? Lions fans are going to be really mad at me for doing this right here. I don't want you as our OC anymore.
Whoa!
You're off the list, Dan.
Whoa!
You know what,
Invite unsent. Jeez.
Yeah, Foxy, couple of things. One, your beard looks great. Okay, your beard looks great.
Classic
Two,
coach in here, by the way.
Yeah. Two, I didn't want to connect the dots too much, make it too obvious, right? So I just didn't want everyone to see like, Foxy one day, then Orlovsky the next day. So I also love everything about Detroit. Detroit's loaded. I want the interior of the offensive line to be better, but yeah. Great place.
Okay, you don't think MCDC would do that, man?
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? They try to get Ragnow literally out of the casket. Yeah. They try to get Ragnow out of the casket. They picked his body up, rolled it out. It was a coffin drop, actually. He goes through the bottom.
Oh, man.
They roll his ass out there, and then he's back. Everybody says, come on, man. Just tell him he's back. Walks into the training room. They go, your whole body's broken.
You got two broken legs.
Can't play. Just like we said, what was it?
He said he also commented on the job itself, and he came at him there for saying the Chargers job was better, but he also responded to the reports of him actually taking the job, and he said that he loves Detroit, he loves the Lions, and it'd be cool to coach. He said he basically gave like a slight indication he would take the job, but I think it was more just banter between the boys. I don't think there's actually Dan O going to coach in the NFL. He spoke about how he loves Detroit and he loves the Lions job, but he's not going to come and coach the Detroit Lions. There's no way. So we can just stop talking about that. By the way, we have an update as another OC. I did. This is an actual report too, which I'm actually surprised that we haven't seen Zach Robinson. But I want to make sure we get this very clear first.
Did this just come out? Because I mean, I've been driving for 3 hours, so there's like recent news. Is that like a recent thing?
Well, just go to Ian Rappaport's Twitter if you tweet it out. But I want to say before, so teams have the option to put out whether or not they interview guys. The Lions are pretty quiet about who they interview. If you haven't noticed already, they've got the guys that they've interviewed, it's been leaked. Okay, so it hasn't been like the Lions that came out and said we've interviewed these guys.
Yeah, they really it's a half of the league that does that, where they will go and
Bucks, for example, the Bucks are very
open. They announce it, they put the whole graphic out there, and a lot of teams do it for head coaches and coordinators. Lions, they're very, very tight knit when it comes to this, and the only time we get to know, and that's one of the crazier things. Like even with the John Morton thing last year, is we really didn't have an idea of everyone who interviewed for that job. And it felt like it was just like, oh, we're going John Morton, and didn't give a lot of other people opportunities because they don't announce it. They really don't. So I'm interested this year. Like we've heard actually a couple bigger names and people who are hot in the market that they've interviewed. Kafka, McDaniel, and now Zach Robinson here. Like these are guys that, have been OCs or have, been head coaches or been in those positions that are very, very, a lot of people want them. So I think I think they're actually doing their due diligence. I like the way they're going about this offensive coordinator kind of process. I really do. Like it seems like they're doing their homework and they're doing their due diligence. And I know I heard you on Collective mention, like with the two guys from the Rams, like we hope that they interview them. We don't know though. Like they could have already interviewed with those guys from the Rams, the pass game coordinator, Schoolhouse, or whatever his name is. They could have already interviewed with him, and we just didn't get a thing about it because they don't announce it. No, by the way, we did get a donation too.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Is that $60, dude? What's EGP? Shout out.
That is Egyptian pounds.
No way.
It's from Ahmed Hassanin's Father, who watches
Let's
the
go.
show. We appreciate the super chat from you, my friend. Appreciate you watching as always. And to kind of your point about the Zach Robinson thing, which Zach Robinson, for those who don't know, was with the Rams under Sean McVay. He has familiarity with Jared Goff. He was the OC with the Falcons, did a pretty good job with the run game. I think we can all say Bijan Robinson, that offensive line, that he did a really good job over there. Not in, this elite offense, explosive offense, but you got to think he had Michael Penix, and then he had Kirk Cousins for half the season, kind of quarterback mishap for half of it. I don't hate it. I think you see a similarity between a lot of these coaches, at least from the guys that we know, to your point, because we don't know if they've interviewed Nate Shieldhouse, whoever, a guy that I really like. I think he's a dude he's going to be a head coach one day, but an offensive coordinator very soon, in my opinion. Yeah. Jake Peets was leaked.
Oh, Steelhouse. I said Schoolhouse. That's on me. Hand up.
Schoolhouse sounds cool. It sounds way cooler. So I don't hate that. But he might have interviewed we don't know. But Zach, but a lot of these guys are Rams guys, like ties to the Rams. If you haven't noticed, Zach Robinson, Jake Peets, like you see a theme there. Mike Kafka and Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel has ties to that type of offense with Sean McVay. They were back in Washington together. He was with Kyle Shanahan, so kind of that West Coast system. Jared Goff's familiar with that system as well with the Rams. He had success in it. I think that's kind of Ben's philosophy a little bit. It's kind of what they want to do. So you kind of notice a trend with these guys, younger guys. But Zach Robinson falls into the experienced play caller bucket. So
yeah, I didn't think he was bad in Atlanta as well. Like I think he just got fired because their head coach got fired. It felt like, and if you watch Atlanta over the last year or so, like, dude, he was going through a rookie essentially with Michael Penix, and then also Kirk Cousins, kind of an older Kirk Cousins. And I mean, Jeff, me and you talked about Atlanta down the stretch a lot. Actually, we brought it up how like they went on that run down the stretch to where they were like one game away from making the playoffs essentially. And that was because of the Bijan thing. That was because of Kyle Pitts being involved more. You saw Kirk Cousins starting to play a little bit better. Like that offense was humming a little bit. It wasn't just that was that offense that started to pick it up underneath him, under Zach Robinson, and he was kind of the main factor of that, because he had a defensive head coach. Do you think that some offensive OCs like get held back a little from defensive head coaches, or do you think they have more freedom? Because like, if you look like, let's say like if you're an OC in Detroit with Dan, and you're probably gonna be able to go to Dan more and ask more questions and get more help. To where if you're an OC with Raheem Morris, it's like, yeah, you can go to Raheem Morris for help. And it's like he's not going to know as much as like a Dan Campbell or another offensive minded. So it's probably harder for a guy like Zach Robinson working under a defensive minded guy, because he's it's him. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to think that offensive coaches get more freedom because the defensive guy doesn't really want to interfere too much. It's kind of like an offense. It's like Sean McVay with Chris Shula. I doubt he's in Chris Shula's ear a lot of the time. I think he probably just lets him kind of do his thing. I would like to think. So I think it's probably the same way the other way. But
you would think, though, it's like when it comes to getting advice and like, hey, how do we want to do this? Like when you're in the film room and stuff, you would think being around an offensive head coach would help you as an OC,
yes,
right?
For sure. It would definitely help you. I mean, I will. That's why people always pluck defensive guys away from Sean McVay, because you're hoping you get the defensive guy, but he also knows offense under Sean McVay. So that's probably where they're coming from with it. I mean, Zach Robinson has been with the Rams since 2019. He was the assistant quarterbacks coach working with Jared Goff, assistant wide receivers coach in 2020, assistant quarterbacks coach in 2021. And then pass game coordinator, quarterback coach in 2022, 2023. And then he was the Falcons offensive coordinator. So he's been with the Rams his whole coaching career. I mean, that's pretty good until he went to the Falcons to be an OC. So
I like that. I like that one.
Yep. He won a Super Bowl. I believe he was with the Patriots as like a backup. I'm pretty sure. So he's got the Super Bowl. Super Bowl. No. Sorry. Super Bowl with Matthew. No,
he was in LA there.
Yeah. No, that was with Matthew. Yeah, they won a Super Bowl. So yeah, not as a player, as a coach.
Can I ask you
a quarterback coach there?
Can I ask you a question when it comes to this OC situation? Because I think the number one candidate, no matter what, I would have to say it's Mike McDaniel. Like, and I think across the board, everyone's like Mike McDaniel. And then obviously, you have the Zach Robinson's cap. You have all these other options. Does it worry you that like Mike McDaniel now is heading to Tampa in a day or two to go interview for that job. It's been announced today he's going to be interviewing for the Philadelphia Eagles. Does that worry you? Like when we start talking about these?
Oh yeah. I mean, I mentioned it before you joined. Half the league needs an OC. So
yeah.
But here's the thing: the Lions have going for them. You're at least top of that ladder with OCs. Now, the thing you have to wait for is you have to wait and see all the head coaches that get hired, and then you'll probably have your OC, because I'm sure Mike McDaniel in his mind, I know he wouldn't mind being an OC for. I'm sure I'm speaking for him, but like Lions, Eagles would probably be like, for a guy like that, it's probably the two jobs he would take. But I'm sure in his mind, he'd like to be the head coach of, like, the Falcons or one of these other organizations, I'm sure. But if he doesn't get that opportunity, they're going to be the Lions, and I think the Eagles are going to. I don't know if the Bucs would be in that, to be honest. And I think Liam Cohen got a job. Like, it's not a bad job, but for a guy like Mike McDaniel, he has the opportunity to either coach with the Eagles, who won a Super Bowl, or the Lions, who have probably the most weapons to play with. I mean, that's probably where he's going, if I had to guess.
I hate to say it though, like,
but a lot of competition. It
is. I think the Bucs is right up there because they do have a good roster offensively. And I know you could say, well, it's older with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin just kind of come off that injury. The one thing though with the Tampa Bay is, I think Tampa Bay has a pretty good, advantage of, is whereas Mike McDaniel's essentially been since 2015, 2014 in his career, he's been in warm weather. Like, he's been in San Francisco. He was in Atlanta before that. And then he went to Miami. I know that's dumb, Booner. Like, no, it's really not. A lot of these guys like that.
He's probably got a place in Florida too already.
Yeah. So for him to go from Miami to Tampa, like, yeah, it's a bit of a drive. It's a little bit, but like, he's still in the warmth, right? And when you do, and obviously he's not going to sit there and like choose, his career paths just based off of weather. But that's going to be something where it's like, hey, if the Bucs are intriguing and Todd Bowles talks to him and tries to pitch to him, hey, look at what we did with Liam Cohen. Look what we did with the what's David Canales. Like, look what we've done with some of these coaches that have gone on, to be, playoff teams. Like, both of their teams are in the playoffs right now. And that's a good pitch, man. And you could be like, obviously we don't have Rashad White next year, but we have Bucky Irvin, Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Emeka Ibuka, Cade Otton, like Chris Godwin, and Tez Johnson. Like, they've drafted other players. Like, they have a lot of good players there. Jalen McMillan. That's a good sell to Mike McDaniels to be like, dude, you could stay in Florida and have all these weapons. And look at who won the division this last year. Like, you'll be in the playoffs if we have you. Like, and look at our defense. So I think it's something I do think when I saw Tampa come across my phone today, that was one that worried me a little bit. And then that was the first thing that popped into my mind was he was just in Florida. He's been in San Fran. Like, he obviously likes, warm weather. I know that's a crazy thing to think, but that's part of it.
Yeah, I think the biggest case you have for Mike McDaniel is the personnel similarities that he had in Miami, and you have it in Detroit. They obviously play in a dome, so I think that helps. But when I say that, he had the number 2 offense, or at least number 2 in points scored in 2023, and you had what? Tyreek Hill, you had Jalen Waddle, A-Chain, guys that are just blazers, absolute blazers. I mean, and you have a quarterback who's a pocket guy, timing, accuracy. I think it's very similar with like the personnel in Detroit. You'd have Jared, who is better than Tua, but him and Tua they do a lot of the same. They're built on a lot of the same strengths, even though Jared's just supremely better in a lot of areas. But they're both not mobile guys. Jameson's a burner. Amon-Ra's not a burner, but he's an elite wide receiver. You're going to have Sam Laporta back. Jahmyr Gibbs is a burner. Assuming they fix the offensive line, like, I think that's where if you're Mike McDaniel, it's like, well, with the 49ers, you had Jimmy Garoppolo. They've had pocket guys. Like, I think he's probably, I would, if I'm Mike McDaniel, if you're looking at a fit, I think the fit in Detroit is way better than the fit in Philly for him. Yep. Just personally, I think the offense he would want to run would be not only similar from like a schematic standpoint than what he had in Miami, but just I think with working under Dan Campbell, working in Detroit, city that loves football. Philly loves football, but guess what? I mean, if you don't do he'll get a head coaching gig in a year, but the pressure that would be on you in Philly probably much more of a massive, weight on any coach that goes in there. I mean, we see that you have one bad game, man. They're going to just eviscerate you. So
instantly,
I think Detroit's perfect fit for him. I still believe that if he's going to be a coordinator, even though Philly's attractive, I think Philly would go after a guy like Cliff Kingsbury. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. Like, I think it makes a ton of sense. I mean, he's worked with mobile quarterbacks. He's a great play caller. Like Mike's offense, I think would be perfect in Detroit. They caught him leaving, actually, Detroit. There, you see this photo of him?
Dude, that was the funniest photos, dude.
Dude's just absolutely dripped in the airport. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, the suit, the watch, the bag, I mean, the shade.
By the way, the tie, there was another angle. Someone got a selfie with him. The tie is like the thickest tie of all time. I saw someone went up to him and took a selfie, and it got posted around. And that tie is like, dude, I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but it's just so funny, man. Think about that, though. Like, real quick, just because when I see this picture, it kind of puts a little bit into perspective some of these guys. Like, we look at some of these coaches as like so high level and like untouchable. This, like, Mike McDaniel has just been the head coach for the Miami Dolphins for the last 3 or 4 years. One of the sharpest and best offensive minds in the game of football. And this guy is flying from city to city in a suit to get a job. Like, he's trying to find a job right now. Like, and I think it puts into perspective a little bit how these like NFL job cycles work when it not just head coaches, but like coordinators that are getting fired or their head coach got fired. Like, they're trying to find pass game coordinator positions. They're trying to find, positional coaches. Like, it's one of the most, like, when I saw this, I was like, dude, that's like, this guy's going on like a Spirit flight or a Delta flight, and he's just hopping on, and like, it's insane. It really is. This is a millionaire. That's great at what he does.
I was curious because the tweet that this was under, they said he was flying to Nashville because this person's in Nashville, so they were going on his flight, their flight to Nashville. I wonder if the teams pay for the flights.
You would have to think so. Yeah.
So I wonder if he flew to Detroit and like he flew private to Detroit, and then what if like Tennessee was like, nah, bro, you're taking Spirit to come interview for this Titans job. Like, I wonder if they control some.
You know what I'm nervous about, if I'm being honest?
Or maybe he flew commercial for Detroit and Tennessee. I don't know.
The one thing that makes me nervous is that the Lions were like the Lions are you're trying to pitch him to come. Like, I don't think with Mike McDaniels, if you want him as an OC, it's not him interviewing for the job. It's you're interviewing essentially to show him this is what we have. We want you.
Yeah, we want you here.
I'm scared that Dan and Brad were like, just throw him on a commercial flight. He's good. And he's like, oh, no. That makes me a little nervous. I don't know if they would do that, but that makes me a little like, oh, no, man.
If this was like the Cowboys, they'd fly that man out on a private jet. I mean, they would fly him out on a jet. So I listen, if it's up to Mike McDaniel, I don't fault the man for saving money. Private jets are tens of thousands of dollars for a one-way flight. So I get it. You save some cash. I wonder if it's up to the team who pays that bill. I wonder. It's like a couple $100 versus a private jet. So I'm curious how that all works. I will say it's gonna get very interesting. And I brought this up on Lions Collective too. The names they've interviewed. And I mentioned it: Jake Pete, Zach Robinson, Mike Kafka, Mike McDaniel. There's ones that we probably don't know of that they've interviewed as well. I really hope that Nate Shieldhouse is in there. I hope that maybe a guy like Davis Webb is in there. I hope they're just doing their due diligence on pretty much like all across the league, bright offensive guys. I don't think you have to make a decision anytime soon. Obviously, you have to let this thing kind of play out. But we hammer how important this offensive coordinator hire is. And I hate to keep bringing this up, but when I see a report like this, I can't help but get pissed off. I mean, I cannot help but get pissed off. I mean, you have the Commanders who are going to interview Brian Flores, the guy that, remember, everyone was like, oh, he's not going anywhere. He's staying in Minnesota. He's interviewing with the Commanders job. Please look me in the face, look me straight in the eyes, and tell me that Commanders job on defense is more enticing than the defensive coordinator job for the Lions. There is no way. And I know, it's in division. You don't know that. This is in the conference. So, I mean, he's still going in the conference. We're probably going to play the Vikings at some point. So I think this shows to me that it's like if you have 1 foot out, you're pretty much already out. Like he already has 1 foot out the door.
I think there's a reason he didn't re-sign.
Yes, there's a reason he didn't re-sign with the Vikings. Like I don't think people, and someone commented on my post because I put the little Squidward meme of him looking out the window. Someone commented, they're like, can't the Vikings block this? No, he's not under contract.
No, dude, the problem is, and I keep hearing this, and this is the issue. Like you have to understand this. Brian Flores is essentially a free agent coach, right? If Brian Flores, if Brian Flores wanted to be a DC with the Vikings, he would have already signed. People are like, why would the Vikings let that happen? Do you actually think, and listen, this I'm going to give the Vikings a little credit because over the last 4 or 5 years, they've done a good job in their organization. Do you actually think the Minnesota Vikings were like, we're okay with letting him walk? No. I can guarantee you, and this, I don't have any sources. I can just guarantee you as a fan of the game that over the last year or two, the Minnesota Vikings were doing everything they could to try and get this man extended in Minnesota. They did not want it to come to the end of the season and he wasn't under contract. That franchise was not over there going, just let him go let the contract go up. He'll be back. We'll figure it out later. I could guarantee you that did not happen. What happened was Brian Flores knew what his contract was. He knew he has head coach interviews. He's interviewing for, I believe, the Steelers job. I believe maybe the Ravens job. He knew he was going to have opportunities to be a head coach again. So he probably was like telling them, I'm not going to sign anything right now. I'm going to wait. I'm going to go into this cycle and see what happens. The bad part about that is now he can take DC interviews, and he's obviously doing so. If you're the Vikings, I don't want to say you would feel a type of way, but you would be, because I'm sure they tried to offer him and tried to extend him, and he said no. If I'm the Vikings, I'd be a little like hurt about that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you'd be like, man, like
that Brian Flores. Hey, man, it's over. Like, he doesn't want to coach with the Vikings. Where are they going?
No, he would have signed with them. I could guarantee you that there was a contract on the table extension for him.
He wants to coach meaningful football games. He wants to coach for a contender. If it's not a head coaching gig, I promise you, Brian Flores, in my opinion, he would want to be a DC for a championship-level team. That's why I think the Lions would be, you're not doing it now, but if they already fired Calvin Shepard, you would have absolutely been in this race.
Yep.
Like, I think they would have absolutely had a chance to interview Brian Flores to be like, hey, man, we made an NFC championship game. We have a talented roster with multiple All-Pros. You're going to coach at least 2 All-Pros. Probably healthy 3 All-Pros. Kirby, Jack, and Aidan. At least 3.
Minimum.
Yeah, like, dude, like, you don't think Brian would be like, oh, yeah. Like, let's do what is the Vikings? People act like he's been coaching with the Vikings for decades.
The problem is with this whole thing, and this is what kind of makes me mad about this whole thing with Detroit and the defense and Brian Flores, like all of this. Calvin Shepard's still your DC. And the fact that it's January 14th and they have and you see right now, and Jeff, you know this, we've had the conversation where it's like this coaching cycle is insane. There are 9 head coach jobs available. Half of the league at OC is available. That we don't even know how many DC jobs are available right now. Like, there's a lot. The fact that you're just sitting there and waiting with Calvin Shepard, and if you're gonna fire him, okay, it should have been like 2 weeks ago. That's why it's like Calvin Shepard's your DC.
Yeah, he's gonna be your DC.
And I think we got to kind of get over the fact that it's gonna happen. I'm right there with you though. Like that tweet that you put out, I liked it. I think I actually liked it with the wrong account. I think it was with the Crunch Time account. But I'm right there with you. Like I'm sitting out here and just like, dude, there's just no way that this Lions team should be running it back with Calvin Shepard. There's just no way. Like, you want to win a Super Bowl. This defense has been average or just around average for 5 straight years in Detroit, and there has been no sign of this team being a top 5 defense to win a Super Bowl. And on the collective, I think it might have been Justin that brought it up earlier on your guys' show today, where he was like, go look at right now the teams remaining left in the NFL and go look at their defenses and where they rank. Because I believe it's like the top 4 of the top 5, the Broncos defense, the Texans defense, the Seahawks defense, right there. That's 3. I believe the Patriots or the Bears have a pretty good defense too. Like, those are 3 of the top.
I think the Bears are the only ones that don't.
Those are 3 though. Like Seahawks, Texans, and the Broncos. They're 3 of the final 8. And if you want to add the Patriots, 4 of the final 8 teams that are like top 5 in the NFL in defense. Like, that means something. That means something. It does. And the only reason the Bills don't worry about it is because the Bills have Josh freaking Allen, dude. Like that's why the Bills aren't like, yeah, they have a decent defense, but they have Josh Allen to constantly bail them out. At some point, they have to you have to strap up a little bit, and you have to fire your DC, and you have to go out and get a Brian Flores, or you have to go out and get a legit defensive head or defensive coordinator. You have to.
Yeah, and if you want to go, how about this? Besides top defenses, the teams that aren't top defenses have great DCs. Like Robert Saleh.
Oh my gosh.
They're not like a top 5 defense, but that dude is an elite defensive coordinator.
It's one of the more incredible stories.
Dennis Allen, people are a little iffy on him, whatever. You can call the Bears an anomaly. I really don't care. Maybe they're the exception. They're just making a run that's impressive. But like a lot of it's defensive, either great defensive teams, great defensive units, or great defensive coaches. Like that's what matters, man. And I just don't know how you look at in this, again, nothing personal against Kelvin Shepherd. I just don't know how you look at the Lions defense and be like, yeah, that's a defense that'll take us to a Super Bowl and we will win a Super Bowl with that defense. Like, I don't get it. I especially looking at, like you said, all the teams that are left in the playoffs, all those great Mike Vrabel, Mike McDonald, Vance Joseph, Robert Saleh, like these dudes that are, Chris Shula's going to get a head coaching job. He's the DC with the Rams. Like,
the thing, too, that irks me the wrong way, I wonder if you have the same thought, and I just saw it in the chat, too. Someone Easy Does It put it about accountability with Shep. And it's like, listen, if Shep, because I thought Shep the first half of the season was extremely good, and I thought he did I thought that defense was really good, and obviously injuries hit a little bit, and you lost, your safeties. But outside of that, like, he had a decent start to the season, and in the media, everything was going really well. There was the whole situation where LSU fires their coach, Brian Kelly, and people start, even us, we talked about Kelvin Shepherd, like he was on a trajectory of like boom, boom, boom. But then all of a sudden when there starts to like, and this is where I think when you look at good coaches and good DCs and good head coaches, it's like, hey, when your team gets thrown into the fire, how do you react? Like when your unit is playing bad and something bad's happening, are you going to take accountability for it? And are you going to fix it? Or are you going to make excuses and continue to do the same things? And I think when you knew eventually at some point the Kelvin Shepherd defense was going to end up getting thrown in the fire and something bad was going to happen, or, you're going to get into some sort of issues. When that happened, Kelvin Shepherd went to the media, took zero accountability, and instead of, and listen, didn't just take no accountability, doubled down on it and said, no, we don't get gashed rush defense. And when the media asked about it, he tried to make the media look stupid for asking the questions and bringing it up, and then got gashed again. And a couple weeks later, he gets asked again about it, and again for a second time doesn't take accountability, and then again goes at the media and says something back to the media in regards to it. Oh, we don't get gashed. And then the next game again, it happened again. Goes out there and gets gashed by the Pittsburgh Steelers and Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren. And then you just don't hear from him until obviously, a week left of the season. And then all of a sudden he still has a job. And I think it's like, dude, seeing the end of how that second half of the season ended as the DC and the accountability side of things. And it just irked me the wrong way. And it's like, that's who's leading your defense. Because what happens next year, again, things are going to go wrong next year, Jeff. Like, you potentially could lose another safety. You could lose another corner. You could lose one of your edge rushers. You could lose, one of your linebackers. Is Kelvin Shepherd just going to make up an excuse, not take accountability, and just be like, yeah, we'll just push it to next year? Look at what we'll push it to next year. It's all good. Like, that's my issue. Where Robert Saleh, things happen. You lose Fred Warner. You lose Mykal Williams. You lose all these guys. Robert Saleh, I do not care. Like, hey, we're still going to play some good defense here, man. We're going to figure this thing out.
Dude, they had Eric Kendricks. For those who don't know, Eric Kendricks is still playing in the league as at linebacker. He was basically playing the Fred Warner role against the Eagles. Like, that dude was, all due respect to Eric Kendricks, he's like 49. I mean, this guy's been in the league forever. So coaching matters. That we were reminded that from the playoffs. And again, I just don't feel good about it. Now, this is again, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Josina Anderson put this out. She said about the Eagles job. She said, added notes, a league source earlier today, the Eagles are looking for an established name guy at offensive coordinator, and that they'll try to vet through the top qualifiers as much as possible, adding no one is at the top until they do. Also sounds like Mike McDaniel is regarded as an intriguing name, given some of the distinctions in his scheme.
He's going to end up there, dude.
So they looked at Cliff Kingsbury, because there was another one, her former tweet that says Cliff Kingsbury was a runner-up when the team hired Kellen Moore. That's interesting. Kevin Stefanski will get a real look, assuming he doesn't get a head coaching gig, which he will. But yeah, dude, I'm telling you, and all these cocky Eagles fans under this tweet, by the way, like it's so funny. They're all commenting like there's taking the Lions job. Like they got no defense. At least the Eagles got a defense. I mean, the league's laughing at you because
they're not wrong though. Yeah, like, they're really not wrong.
It's like, oh gosh, yeah, I'm telling you, man, the Eagles are going to be players. They of course have to.
They're going to get a great OC. The thing what's going to. In a universe we live in, an alternate universe, they hire Mike McDaniel and they go on and win a Super Bowl, and we're all just sitting here going, "Oh my Lord!"
I think at that point you're gonna have to really talk yourself into like Zach Robinson or Mike Kafka, someone like that.
Jeff. The crazy thing to me, I thought about this when I was driving in this 3-hour storm that I was in. I had a come to life moment. And all this conversation, I was listening to you guys, the Lions Collective, and we guys are having all these conversations, great breakdowns about everything, all of that. And all I could think about, Jeff, is these conversations that are being had right now, and like the due diligence and how good of a job it seems like that the Dan Campbell is doing trying to figure out this offense. This should be happening with the defensive coordinator position. I don't care if it happened with – I said it before last week. They could have went out and got a young OC that no one's ever heard of and let him collaborate with Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell calls plays, and I would have been like, okay, whatever, we have the weapons. What they're doing right now with the offensive coordinator position, going out and finding all these different interviews and all these top dogs, we should be having these conversations about the DC job, not the OC job. They're doing it with the wrong position. They're focused on the wrong coordinator position. They are. They really are. Yeah. Like talking about getting an established veteran coordinator in the offensive room, like the Eagles have Vic Fangio. They're about to have Vic Fangio, and they're about to have Mike McDaniel or Kevin Stefanski or Cliff Kingsbury. Oh my Lord, dude. And our staff is Kelvin Shepard, a year 2 guy that just complained to the media because the media just called him out for getting gashed when he got gashed, and he hates being called out. And it's like, but we're sitting here like, yeah, cool, we're going to vet coordinator. Like, yeah, that's awesome. I don't care about the OC. If I'm being honest, like I had that come to life moment driving around. I really don't care about the OC position. We're having these conversations. We shouldn't be. It should be DC. Defensive coordinator.
Yeah, no, you're right. And honestly, I can't, and there's probably Lions fans that are watching this right now that are like, you guys are both idiots. I believe Calvin Shepard will be, elite next season and take that next step as a defensive coordinator. And you very well might be correct. I like our odds in that. I don't think he'll live up to expectations, just my opinion. And the reality is that falls on Dan Campbell as a leader. That decision, the decision to keep Calvin Shepard, you better hope that dude becomes elite. Okay. And I'm not saying he doesn't have the potential to be a good DC in this league. I'm talking about this year. I think it's make or break. If this man this year trots out a middle of the pack defense, not only are you going to have to fire Calvin Shepard, but Dan's seat just gets hotter. That's a decision, in my opinion, that falls on the head coach. You're responsible for your assistant coaches. You're a coordinator.
Yeah.
Dan can't be like after this year, oh, he's fired. Like, we're going to look for one. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. Like, no, you decided to keep the guy for another year. Like, I think I'm with you on that. I will say this also. I was thinking about this too. Speaking about you having these random thoughts, this popped into my head. We're talking about hiring an offensive coordinator. They actually have to make 2 hires. They need an offensive coordinator, and they need an offensive coordinator for 2027. They need to hire a guy that's behind Mike McDaniel. Because you're going to be, like, we're going to be in the same thing a year from now if you get Mike McDaniel. You can't do the Ben Johnson to John Morton. You're going to have to hire Mike McDaniel and make sure that there's someone on staff that's brought in that's like a mini Mike McDaniel, or not that he's already not mini. He's a pretty small guy. But you know what I'm saying? Like a smaller version of that on staff. Or you're going to be screwed again where you're like, oh, well, we got to try and, we got to go get
If I'm being honest though, Jeff, I love that thought. That's one of the last thoughts in my mind. I'm just like so tunnel vision on 2026 to where it's like you have to have an I don't even listen. Like a lot of people going into last year, like Super Bowl or bust. Dude, I'm so far off the Super Bowl or bust train this year. And I told you this after they missed the playoffs and beat the Bears. I told you, I said, Jeff, bro, like I'm out on the Super Bowl or bust. It's like, dude, you just got to get in the playoffs and win some playoff games again next year. Like that, like, yeah, we all want Super Bowls. Like you're in the Super Bowl window. I'm just so tunnel vision. Like I'm with you. Like you're going to run into this again. But like, for me, it's just like, just get Mike McDaniel. We can figure out that. We'll figure out 2027 when that one comes around.
Hey, by the way, the guys on Lions Collective mentioned this too about Mike Kafka. I didn't even know this. Colton reached out to his buddy of his who works with The Athletic, very, in depth or knows a lot about the Giants. And Mike Kafka, who interviewed for the Lions offensive coordinator job, he was the interim head coach for the Giants this year. His path has been kind of interesting too. It's been interesting. I mean, I'll say that. I don't know if it's a terrible or a good thing. It's kind of like a mix where it's like, okay, he got to New York, was the offensive coordinator. I guess it was good his first year, if I'm not mistaken. Second year, he had his play calling duties taken away. And then the third year, he had them given back. And then Brian Daboll gets fired. Like, it's kind of been this, like, it was like John Morton. If John Morton stayed and then got his play calling duties back like a year from now. Now, he is also younger. He's 38, 39 years old. But he kind of went through the John Morton thing with Brian Daboll. Like, Brian Daboll took over play calling duties at one point with Mike Kafka. So, thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know how I feel about that part of it. I think hearing that probably bumps him down like a spot or two. I don't know. I don't know if I love that. I think Mike Kafka in Kansas City behind Andy Reid learning would probably be better for him. I think the positive for me with Mike Kafka is that his players did not give up completely on him. I think he's very loved in that building, just from an observer. So I think you got to look at the human element of coaching. I think he's a liked guy. So he's a good dude. He's a bright offensive guy. But having your play calling duties did kind of raise a concern for me. So I think Mike Kafka maybe bumped down like a spot or two. I like Jake Peets. That one's interesting. I really like Nate Scheelhaus. I think they probably should interview him, but at this point, It's Mike McDaniel. It feels like Mike McDaniel or bust. I mean, there's these other guys are taking a risk, like some of them, but yeah, that's
why. And again, I think it even spreads it like this whole point of if Mike McDaniel, the only two other right now jobs he's interviewing for outside of head coaching positions is the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator position and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator position. What are those two teams looking to do next year? Win the NFC. Like, right. If you don't get this done, and if you don't somehow, and I know like there's a world where it's like you could do everything in the world to get Mike McDaniel here, and he still chooses another. All I want to know is that Dan Campbell and that crew did everything they could to try and get Mike McDaniel, a Detroit Lion, as an OC this next year. Because if he ends up taking the Eagles job and they go win a Super Bowl, you look hindsight and you look back and go, oh, yeah, that should have been our OC. That should have been us.
By the way, Wayne,
you do not want that to happen.
Wayne asked, "Is Mark Brunell, like the Mark Brunell stuff, like why hasn't he come up in conversation?" I've seen this question before. I share my thoughts, but this is how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel about it, Boo. I think Mark Brunell at this point is probably just best suited for a quarterback coach. I think everyone looks at some coaches and they're like, why can't this coach become an offensive coordinator? Why can't this coach become a defensive coordinator? I think some coaches are just great at what they do. And I think Mark Brunell is a really good quarterback coach. There's a reason he hasn't gotten that opportunity. He interviewed, I believe, for the Jets OC job and didn't get it, but he's not a guy people are like, think about this, right? Jared Goff is bald the last couple of years. Why hasn't he gotten OC interviews?
Agreed. He's gotten one, and it was his former,
You see, everyone in the league talks. Like, they're all people are talking, like calling Dan. What do you think about that? Hey, what do we?
It might be he doesn't want one as well. Like maybe
that's part of it too.
Maybe he interviewed for the Jets one just to do it, to get a feel for it. And maybe he just because he is a little bit older. I don't know his age, but I know he's been in the league, been around a while. Maybe he's just a guy that's just like, hey, I like what I do. And eventually maybe he'll try it. But I'll say this too, when it comes to like the in-house guys, is like you essentially, in my opinion, like the John Morton one felt in-house because he was there. That's at some point. It felt like it was an in-house hire. And again, it goes back to you're essentially, if you hire in-house Hank Fraley or Scotty Montgomery, you're essentially just going back to the point of you're getting an inexperienced guy in a Super Bowl season. And it's you just did that with Shep, and then look what happened with the defense with Shep. You struggled. And you don't want that offensively. You want a guy that can come in. The one thing too I'm interested in, Jeff, I want to ask you, are you concerned if a Mike McDaniel or someone comes in, one of these a newer guy from outside comes in and changes the offense the way it is? Is there any concern for you on that?
No, I don't think so. I think so far the guys they've hired, you notice how they're all kind of newer dudes to the job, but Mike McDaniel and I guess Mike Kafka's only been in OC once. I think those guys would all kind of submit to Dan's kind of philosophy a little bit.
What if Mike McDaniel would, to a sense?
I think they would. I think Dan would give him a little more freedom, but also be hey man, make sure we focus running the ball is our identity. I think that would probably be. But I think he would allow Mike to be a little more just creative. Maybe he would just be hey man, you're good at what you do. Do your thing. But Zach Robinson, they're not going to let Zach Robinson come in and be this is how we're running things around here. They're definitely Dan's going to weigh on no matter who the candidate is, but I think more guys might have more freedom based on their resume. That's where I would go. C. Merck, mailbag, Booner straight cooking. Why does Dan not address the defensive struggles? He didn't with AG, now with Shep. The most he talks about the defensive personnel during the season is injuries.
It does feel like it gets brushed over a lot, and that's been your unit that's been the worst. Your offense hasn't been an issue in years. And if you could be the third quarters this year, well, you don't have to worry about those third quarters if your defense does anything throughout those games, right? That's one of the things. What game was that where they didn't score in the third quarter? Oh, the Rams game. It was the Rams game. People are well, the offense went 3 and out, and Dan was yeah, we went 3 and out 3 times offensively in the third quarter. But it's no one is he never brings up hey, what about for 3 quarters your defense continued to give up points? Oh, the Steelers, your defense got gashed. And I'm gonna ask the doc, I think people need to start just switching over to defensive questions to Dan constantly. No more offensive questions there. Offense is fine. What's going on with his defense? Hey, Dan, Doc, I see the Doc though. I'm gonna say, hey, I'm gonna act like I'm Doc if I'm Doc. Hey, Dan, I just want a quick question for you. Why is Calvin Shepard saying you guys don't get gashed while you guys are getting gashed? And your DC refuses to take accountability for the issues defensively. You have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, bottom half of the NFL, and somehow he still has a job, but John Morton's out of a job. Can you explain that to me, Dan? Why have you not addressed the defense at all over the last 2 years? And I want to see how Dan answers that. I think that'd be a really good question.
Let's bring on a man who will help us answer those questions. By the way, before we do that, Vision Stealth, appreciate the $2. Bro, we need a new mind on the defense. We agree with you, Vision Stealth. Let's bring in our friend John Maakaron, covers the Detroit Lions for Sports Illustrated. He is wearing a different colored hat today. He is not in a snowstorm. He's in his home, protected, ready to talk some ball. Joins us every single Wednesday, our good friend, Mr. John Maakaron. John, how we doing?
Fellas, how we doing? Man, I survived the snowstorm, man. It was crazy. The drive from Sterling Heights to my home in Macomb only took 6 extra minutes. Luckily, man, for the last couple years, 4-wheel drive is a saving grace. You got to have it in this weather, man. My God.
Doc, it's usually an hour drive from downtown to where I live. It took me 3 hours today.
Oh, my God.
3 hours. I left at 5. I got here right on time on the show at 8:05.
I give you credit, man. Thankfully, I left at about 8 o'clock, and I just rolled in at 8:40. But I just saw, which is the natural case, the second I hit my car, the report came out about the Falcons OC, the former Rams guy, getting an opportunity. So we'll get that up here later or tomorrow. It doesn't matter to me, but it's interesting. It's a good time, man, to talk football, talk Pistons, talk good stuff, man. A lot of good stuff going on in Detroit sports.
Yeah, no doubt, Doc. We'll start, I guess, with the biggest news. Lions OC search. Okay, they're bringing in Zach Robinson, which, we'll get to that. But I really want to ask you about Mike McDaniel. Just with the competition, we talked about it this week. Half the league needs a new OC because you have head coaches. I think you have a handful of head coaching jobs that opened. They're going to want their own OC. and then you have a handful of OC jobs. So about half the league needs a new OC, Doc. Does this worry you as someone who covers the Detroit Lions? They need an OC. The Eagles just opened up. They're obviously, you know what they're about. It's an intriguing job. Buck's job. With this Mike McDaniel stuff, are you getting a little more worried that it's getting more competitive, or you feel confident? Where are you at, Doc?
No, I just said on the Lone Wolves podcast, which is now I'm trying to do it like you guys daily at 7. It's tough. But what I just said was, when you listen to Dan Campbell, you remember what he quipped in his final media session. He's like, maybe I'll call plays because maybe I don't have to then worry about the coach just leaving. I do think continuity is important. So I just think that Mike McDaniel, I just have a hard time right now. And you guys know me. I'm more on the, well, do we really get the cherry on top of anything we want? No. We want free agents. They say no. And we want trades. They say no. They try. So I just would think that Mike McDaniel comes from Miami and he steps foot here and he's freezing his nuts off. Is he going to really pick the Lions in this when he could stay in Tampa Bay, stay close and be the OC there, or he could go another opportunity? I just think that the more competition, it lessens your chances. I do think the Lions have a great selling point, but I just feel like it's always tough because I would love somebody to pick. Like the way it would go is he comes in and boom, he doesn't leave the building. Instead, we're seeing selfies and him at Delta. And I'm just like, it just has a feel of, he's like, if the way the Lions do it, they make everybody feel like they're just a guy. Like, how does he leave the building if he's your guy? You come in and say, listen, this is the guy. We want you, and put out stories that he's our first choice, only choice. But in the end, I do think that the Lions are looking for somebody that they can probably keep on the staff for a couple of years. That's why Robinson kind of makes sense, or Pete's, or somebody that is not going to be a head coaching candidate right away that can work with this offense and get some level of continuity. So unless the dream scenario happens, I'm more skeptical that it's going to end up being Mike McDaniel. I think there's too many opportunities that he could pick from, and he's going to have this pick of the litter.
Yeah, Doc, I do want to ask you, and we can keep talking OC, and we can get deeper into that. I just want to, something we just talked about now was the DC situation with Calvin Shepard. Do you think it's a lock that he's staying now, and do you think that's the right move for Dan Campbell to make moving forward into 2026?
Yeah, I do think he's staying. I think that if he would have made a decision, I don't think you're going to leave the guy lingering. You'd want him to have an opportunity to be able to interview, and especially too, it looks good on his resume now that he gets to interview with the Miami Dolphins. But look, Dan Campbell groomed Calvin Shepard. He's a guy that's is a former player. He fits the mold of what the coach would want here. Somebody that gets the respect of the players, that can grow with the group. And you look at it and you say, no matter how we view it, the fact of the matter is the defense, when healthy, was okay to start the year. They had a little stretch there, if you remember, at the beginning of the season, where they were able to kind of limit their opponents and do some things. Now it fell off with the injuries and as people kind of figured out what Calvin Shepard is about. But I think that Dan Campbell has a little bit of a sense of patience to be able to say, okay, there are factors that can be looked at as to why. I mean, you lost a lot of talent, and it definitely, no doubt about it. You said it. You were right before I hopped on. He's got to improve. He's got to look at that scheme. He's got to be able to adapt it on the fly. The defense has to play better. And I'm always of the opinion too, which I thought was another great question I had asked. I asked Calvin Shepard, do you think you need to make some drastic changes? And I kind of do. I think they have this approach with rushing that is too slow, this crush the can mentality, that good opponents can get the ball out quickly and move the football. And I thought it was telling that there was a drastic increase in the amount of explosive plays in the second half of the season. And of course, injuries are going to play a factor, but in the end, injuries, you can't really make an excuse no matter what, because it happens in football, and you just are now looking down the road in the playoffs. The 49ers have way more injuries, more impactful injuries, and they're making plays and getting guys in to be able to help. So injuries are not an excuse. He has to get better. And I do think that it is a collective matter in regards to the defense. I think the scheme is not at the level where I think it can dominate better opponents. And that's just where it's at right now. I do think they got to take a look at what kind of cornerbacks they're bringing in. Brad Holmes, I don't even know if he knows how to evaluate a cornerback properly based on who's signed, drafted, and brought in here. So I just think that across the board, you're absolutely right. The defensive side of the football took a step backwards and was a big part of the reason why you regressed.
Yeah, I think the conversation comes along with the Brian Flores stuff. Like Brian Flores was with the Vikings, now he's interviewing for the Washington Commanders. Everyone's pissed off about it, or at least I'm pissed off. I can't speak for everybody else. But Doc, in this situation, it does not work out. How much of an indictment is that on Dan Campbell? I think that's one of those things I look at with the decision making from a head coach. If you choose to keep a coordinator, you're banking essentially on it working out, of course, and you have faith in that coach. But if it does not work out, I don't think it'd be right if Dan's just like, yep, things happen. I think if people are going to be pissed off, it's like you wasted another year with a defensive coordinator that didn't have a great year to end the year, especially. And I know they had injuries, but I'm looking at Robert Saleh in the playoffs, which I want to ask you about. Like Robert Saleh with the 49ers, I know they're not some elite unit, but look at the coaching job he's doing. I mean, half the teams in the playoffs right now, Doc, are top in scoring defense. The Lions defense was like 25th in scoring. I mean, if you want to have a chance at a Super Bowl, you see the recipe. You can look around. You don't have to coach in the NFL to know this. You can know it as a fan. Watch the playoffs. Good defenses, great quarterbacks, good offensive play callers. They're great complete teams. And then you have Josh Allen, who's a unicorn, and then you have other teams doing a better job coaching than others. But you get the point. Coaching is important, Doc. So how much of an indictment would it be on Dan if they keep Calvin and it backfires? In my opinion, his seat gets hotter. I'll say it. I'll just be honest with you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You're absolutely right. I think that we now can formulate a reason if this doesn't work out. It's they fell in love with their own guys, and the we're good philosophy permeates the entire building, that they believe their guys and their plan is the best plan. When you recognize that there's opportunities to maybe go outside the organization, it might even end up being this situation. You might end up hiring Zach Robinson because he's comfortable with Jared Goff, but the best candidate is Mike McDaniel by all accounts. And I just think that that's kind of where the Lions are at, where everybody kind of says, hey, you could go out and get a free agent. You could have, and it's not our job. And I said on the podcast, it's not Booner's job, your job, Hefe. It's not my job to give a list of names to Brad Holmes to go target and sign. But I'm of the opinion that if they would have made more aggressive moves in free agency to address center in a different spot, to address some weaknesses, then potentially all you did was basically make a lateral move for Carlton Davis with DJ Reed. And most people are going to argue that you made the team slightly worse by bringing in DJ Reed. So that's not how you go forward. That's the recipe for regression, is when you look at your own guys and say, yeah, that's good enough, when potentially there are better out there. And I think you don't think a coaching staff of Brian Flores, Mike McDaniel, and Dan Campbell might look a little bit better when you have some injuries? I would think so too. And I think everybody looks at it and says, yeah, Dan Campbell's big mistake this year, for the reason why 2025 failed, was he made a mistake choosing John Morton and Kelvin Shepard. It cost you 2025. In a nutshell, you lost out on an opportunity to get to the playoffs this year because of your general manager and your head coach equally.
Yeah, Doug, I'm going to, again, jumping back and forth from DC to OC, offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, back to the offense. Question that Jeff and I were talking about before you hopped on. I brought it up to him and just, hey, when you do hire this new OC, whether it is Mike McDaniel or whoever they end up going with, even if it's a younger guy, what are your thoughts on how, that new OC approaches this job? Do you think that there's a chance that they try and significantly change what the scheme of the entire offense is, or do you think they try and stick with what's been working, add their twist to it? What do you think you kind of see here with this offense and a new coordinator heading into next season?
Yeah, no, I think you have the tenants, and part of the thing in my preview was when we spoke, I hold myself accountable. I didn't think the coordinators were going to be a narrative. I just thought that you had enough talent to be able to run your scheme. Boy, was I wrong. I was very wrong. I thought that you have all this talent on offense and it was supposed to be able to handle it. But no, when you don't run the football effectively, that's what Dan Campbell, that's what he's supposed to. That was the tenet of this offense, was to be able to run the football. Well, if you don't have an offensive line and you choose Graham Glasgow, I mean, that's a big mistake. And guys, look, the writing was on the wall a little bit. You remember all through training camp, you guys paid attention daily. I did a daily podcast at training camp. And I said, guys, a lot of times the Lions offense is not looking as good as the defense. It's a little bit shaky. Everyone's like, be patient. And then we all know what happened against the Packers, but they did rebound. But eventually when the injuries started piling up to the offensive line and Taylor Decker's season went on, you just didn't do a good enough job. So they're going to go back to the drawing board, and I do think they're going to add more competition. They're not, listen, at the very least, I'm comfortable saying that the Lions are not going to draft projects. Everybody that they're going to draft is going to be able to compete. You're not going to be too confident that, we can draft a Giovanni Manu and he can sit for 3 years. We're not going to draft a Broderick Martin. He's not going to be on the team. We're not going to draft a Colby Sorsdahl or Sione Vaki, who's a special teamer. You realize, okay, we're going to draft guys to compete, to start on the offensive line, on the defensive line, at safety. And that's an upgrade in draft philosophy. And that's a step one. I do think that you're probably going to have to invest a little bit of money in the offensive line. That's an upgrade over last year. But this offense, the tenants are pretty good. Guys, there is talent on this offense. They did score. They were able to move the football. Some of the big issues were giving up too many pressures. Jared Goff got sacked the most in his career, which obviously is going to impact. He's not Superman. And you need to be more efficient. And also, too, the devil's in the details. When Dan Campbell took over play calling, the level of detail fell way off. More procedural penalties, key moments where you were getting into your drives, getting ahead of the sticks, then you fall behind the sticks because of an ill-timed penalty. And in the end, you got completely away from your offense, which is run the ball, which also, hey, if you run the ball, now you're goated around these parts. Quarterback Jared Goff can run some play action and he can look better and not have a turnover flurry machine happen. So I do think that clearly Dan Campbell is going to say, run the football. That's a tenet that lets you control the game, and then you can run some play action. And you do have some talent. I think Tesla is going to take a step forward. Gibbs is going to be a mega star. Now you just need the new knuckles to come in here and handle business.
I haven't really gotten to ask you directly, Doc, but all the guys they've interviewed, they got Zach Robinson, Jake Peets, Mike Kafka, Mike McDaniel, T. Martin from the Ravens. Do you have a kind of a list? I know Mike McDaniel is obviously the number one guy, but if Mike McDaniel gets hired or for be a head coach, who's next on your list of guys that you would be? Which way are you leaning with the guys they've interviewed?
Yeah, no, I like I said, I think the number one guy on the board clearly is McDaniel. That's the guy that they would like to see here because of his what he did with the run game. You saw in Miami that they had a center that became an all-pro, and he wasn't even that highly sought after. And you look at it and you say, okay, there's something there. Now, if it's not McDaniel, you go and you say, okay, I'm of the opinion that David Montgomery is not a lost cause. So I would say that if you just look at the opportunity, I think Zach Robinson's clearly going to wow a lot of people. 39 years old, somebody that has an opportunity to get after it. I also would say internal, there's a coach that I think that I wrote about at Lions on SI. I think Scotty Montgomery has all the tools to work with Dan Campbell and have an effective offense. And here's why. Isaac Tesla, who's the player that Dan Campbell said grew the most? Isaac Tesla. Who just came off of a breakout season when they told you he was going to have a breakout season? Jamison Williams, who coached him up. That is Scotty Montgomery. And he's somebody that would obviously understand the run game, having been the running backs coach last year. I think that he's somebody that garners respect. He commands a room, and he's been a former head coach. He's kind of in that similar mold of a Ben Johnson in that he's got a lot of coaching experience, and I think would be able to work with Dan Campbell, maybe in the same sense where Dan could call plays and Scotty could also work with the unit as a whole to improve the offensive line, get the right balance to run. So I like Scotty Montgomery. I like the way he commands the room. I like the way St. Brown has talked about him and how he develops players. I like his mentality and the way he addresses questions. I think that he's somebody that's worthy. And also, too, he's also been the assistant head coach for the last 2 years. He's talking to the media every single week. So I like what he brings to the table. It's internal, and I don't think he's going to get a head coaching job for the next 5 years. And he can use this as a jumping point for his career. So I'm intrigued by Scotty Montgomery. I don't think Fraley or Mark Brunell has an opportunity. I don't think David Shaw has an opportunity internally, but externally, I don't think I tried to get some information if Brian Daboll, everyone's lips are sealed about Daboll. I do think a lot in the organization like Kafka because of what they saw against the Giants, but I do think that it's going to be real interesting. This interview with Zach Robinson, I do think is something that could potentially be something that produces the guy.
Hey, what do you think this offseason, Doc? What are you looking at over the next few weeks outside of coordinator hires and all of that? When you just look at roster standpoint, what are some things you're going to be looking at for them to address here coming into obviously the combine is next month, and then free agency is going to be opening up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking for a complete overhaul of how they acquire roster talent. First of all, we now know that draft and develop gets you to a spot. It gets you relevant. It gets you to be okay. You can be a losing franchise, be irrelevant. You draft top of the heap. You get number 2 pick, number 7 pick. You move around, you move up a little bit. You're aggressive to get J-Mo and Gibbs. That can get you to the playoffs, but that is not going to round you out. You cannot neglect free agency. You have to hit, and they've tried, but they haven't hit. They need to have a strategy where they aggressively acquire these players that and Brett Holmes kind of, I want to use a better word, for lack of a better word, he talked around it in saying, well, I've tried. Well, okay, that's fine. I understand you're making the calls. Great. We know that you have a phone, maybe 2, and they work. But in the end, you have to acquire talent. The best teams win, and you don't win with just draft and develop. Okay? Simple. And I know the Slappies are a little bit gun shy, and they don't want to spend, and they don't want to give up draft capital, and they don't want to mess with the cap and get all funky with the cap. But just look at what the Eagles did. If you just want to look at an organization, just when they were close, they built through the draft. Yes. But when it was time and it was money time, they went out and bucked the trend and paid a running back. They paid Saquon Barkley, and it transformed the organization. The Packers did the same thing. Now, he ended up getting injured, but Micah Parsons was a big reason why that football team beat you twice. So you're telling me that you can't find listen, for lack of a better acronym, the Lions need a free agent guru to be able to find out who can ball, who can go out there and come in here that's not injury prone and help this team out. And then you got to do the same thing in the draft, where you got to find talent and hit the players that are going to contribute and compete. And once they do that, guys, I do think that once they realize, oh, wow, our strategy was okay, B+ strategy, but to win a Super Bowl, you need an A+ type of a couple off seasons to be able to compete, because the Rams and the Eagles, they're just going to keep retooling, and teams that are now catching up to you have potential long-term success, like the Patriots, who are in year 1. Remember, you guys just naturally think that Caleb Williams is going to get worse with Ben Johnson. Guys, you now have unleashed a competitor. You have completely given up all your secrets to another franchise, and he's actually running your playbook at this point the same way that you did. Ben Johnson calling out the Packers is the equivalent of Dan Campbell's kneecap speech. And I think that if Dan Campbell can get a little bit of that spark back, now you have an opportunity, because if we get the grumpy Sean Payton guy, that's going to be a little tough. But hopefully we don't get correction Dan Campbell. Hopefully we get kneecaps guy back in the coming years.
I wanted to ask you, Doc, because this would be a perfect thing for you. I saw Lions Twitter went crazy because Aidan Hutchinson went on TV and talked about the injuries. Yeah, there you go. What do you? Because we were on Twitter kind of, and you actually backed me up on some of it. And, people were on my ass because I tweeted out, and I explained it earlier, what I took from the NFL playoffs, coaching. And I think injuries, of course, play a factor, but I think coaching, people, I think, misunderstood what I was trying to say. It's not that if you lose your whole roster, you could still win a Super Bowl. What I meant by that is the Lions still had 2 All-Pros on defense playing football all year. You saw Jack Campbell and Hutchinson, and they weren't able to get it done, or at least be a much better unit. Where are you at with the injury stuff, Doc? Like, Aidan Hutchinson goes on TV and he's like, if we just got to get healthy, it's like, where are you at with the defense here? Is Hutch far off? Is it just getting healthy?
Now, listen, this might be now exposing my age, but listen, I understood the gripes of some fans saying, look, the players are a little more distracted. They're doing podcasts, a lot more commercials. They're, listen, I don't care about all that. But one thing I don't want to see, the players on TV when the playoffs are on. Sit at home, watch the games, enjoy family time. I don't want to see you talking about football. period, point blank. It's just a manifestation of anger that you're not there and telling people, well, yeah, we just, we didn't play complimentary football. Listen, I know that you're talking in generalities, but a lot of people here in Detroit know football at a deep, deep level, and most of the fans are into it. Like, Detroit has a knowledgeable fan base that wants to win. They don't want to see their best players suited and booted, talking football and talking nonsense. That nobody liked that. And in the end, it wasn't excuses. The reason why the Lions defense struggled was the scheme didn't adapt quickly enough to the adjustments that were made by the opponents. It was pretty clear that all you had to do was try to get Jared Goff off his spot, bring a little bit of pressure, and it was going to disrupt everything. And they tried to make the Lions one-dimensional. And the good teams took away. Wow, really? I don't need a bunch of stats and a bunch of next-gen stats to tell you that the Lions went 0-7 when they rushed for less than 100 yards. Boom. You lost the battle in the trenches. And your defensive line wasn't good enough. Your offensive line wasn't good enough to support your football team. It wasn't the injuries. No, you had some good players there. Avonte Maddox is a player that I want back. I thought that he did an admirable job, and he was part of the reason why the Bears win was a success. I think that the scheme is not good enough. The defensive pass rush plan is not elite. It's not. Listen, I could tell you, wow, Al-Quadin Muhammad had 11.5 sacks, but he did it in 7 games. I shared on X that there were 8 games in the middle of the season that went win-loss, 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 win-loss. When you needed to stack wins, Aidan only had 3.5 sacks over a course of 8 games. Okay, so and you also got to remember, again, I'm not being an alarmist, but you also played a whack-ass schedule this year and finished 9-8. You played the Redskins/Commanders. You played the Giants. You played the Bengals. You played some bad teams. And you played the guys. Unfortunately, I know they ended up in the playoffs, but the Steelers were an atrocious football team, and you could barely beat them. So in the end, they got to take a serious look. And listen, they're not going to go on TV and be like, our rush plan's not good enough. Our young rookie, got outplayed by a free agent. They're not going to say those things. But we all know the average person who watches football, turns on the clicker that's not a slappy and using a bunch of numbers to try to tell themselves lies, understands that the defensive scheme was not good enough in regards to when they tried to mix it in some zone. There was miscommunications galore. They tried to run man coverage, but couldn't do it. They didn't have the horses to do it. So you got a lot of work to do to get back to that level. So nobody wants to hear what Aidan Hutchinson is saying about the injuries. When the smart football fans take a look at what's going on, they know what the deal is. And so I didn't need to see that. It didn't do nothing for me.
Doug, I also do want to ask you here, talking about the offseason and especially to the injured players, all that. There's a handful of guys. We actually spoke to Corey about this the other day. There's a handful of guys at free agency. Their contracts are up. Obviously, you mentioned AQM there. Alex Anzalone is probably the biggest one that I think a lot of fans are sitting there wondering what's going to happen. With these guys that are heading into free agency, which guys you want to see the Lions bring back, and who are you okay with them kind of moving on from? And kind of, hey, too much money, we're good. We'll go find someone else that's better for cheaper.
Absolutely. Great topic. A lot of great radio hosts have been kind of looking at that too. A Midland radio host, real good, did a tier ranking. He did about, 10 free agents, and he put Roy Lopez at the top as a priority. I do think Roy Lopez earned an opportunity. He's going to get a raise. And I think that he's a great role player and also showcased what you're about. He was the best. Listen, it's a good signing, but you can't have your best free agent signing be Roy Lopez. So Roy Lopez, I want to come back. I do want Amik Robertson to come back, but not to play on the outside. I think he needs to be in the mix to play nickel, because guess what? Him or Ennis Rakestraw has to compete for that nickel spot, because you're not going to have Brian Branch. So I don't think that clearly, you understand that Amik Robertson is not going to week to week battle the best wide receivers on the outside. But at nickel, I think that if you get him for just a little bit more money, get him in that $5.5 million range, 2 years, $11 million, that's good. I also like Rocky Sin and Avonte Maddox. I think they had a good run. They made plays. Guys I don't want back, Khalif Raymond, I think aged out. I'm sorry. He's good, but you can use Sailors and Tom Kennedy cheaper. I don't want Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Pascal back. I would make an offer to Al-Quadin Muhammad. 11.5 sacks is 11.5 sacks, but you need to get others as well. I would even pay the $8 million. If you can get him for $8 million, $9 million, I'd pay it. You reward your guys and say, hey, you come back here and do it again. But you also need to invest in twitchier, faster guys. You can't be 30th in time to pressure. You just can't be. It's not an irrelevant stat that some people just want to dismiss because it's just common sense football. If you're slow to get to the quarterback, even a guy like Aaron Rodgers will pick you apart. And guess what? That's what he did. You didn't get to him fast enough. Guys like Matthew Stafford, who get the ball out quickly, will, in essence, the Lions used an excuse and said the quarterback got the ball out quickly. Well, too bad, so sad. You got to get faster pass rushers. You just can't have the same big lumbering dude all the time. It can't be Levi, Josh, and Marcus Davenport. Get somebody, guys. I know I said on the podcast and I exaggerated, but I'm going to say it again. Did you know that you can get pressure up the interior in 2.5 seconds or less? What? Did you see Milton Williams? Did you see Milton Williams go up the middle and get interior pressure? I know it's hard to see with the Lions, but wow, you can get interior pressure. I do think that replace DJ Reader with somebody a little faster, more athletic, and that can complement Tyleik Williams. So let's go. And we all see it. It's not we're good. No, we're not good. The fans told you weren't good. The doc told you weren't good. And everybody that saw it said, yeah, you told us, well, I want to get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defensive ends. Well, yeah, Doc's going to tell you need 6, 7, 8, 9 defensive ends. Get as many talented players as possible. Stop trying and start finding players that can sack the quarterback and in more consistent ways.
By the way, I saw this question come up from the chat. It's a great question. It says, Doc, what do you know about potential to hire someone from the squads that are still in the dance? Any interest in getting on an assistant from teams like LA, Seattle, or San Francisco? How long do you think? What's like a respectable timeline that the Lions could hire their OC, Doc? Because I would assume you have to wait for the head coaches to be hired, and then after that, you'd find out who your OC is. Correct?
Yeah, correct. You got to kind of wait and see how the staffs are going to be rounded out. I think that's always great for some positions, but I do think that, the Lions, I clearly by the combine, they had John Morton in place. So I do think that it's going to take time. You do want to see how all these teams shake out because at the same token, a lot of these guys have relationships with a lot of these coaches. And if an assistant from LA or Seattle gets an opportunity, they typically will start pilfering their own and things like that. So that might limit those opportunities, but you got to wait. So that's the balance, right? It's a tough balance. And that's why it was tough when you only have so many days to be able to interview. That's why it was kind of tough when Ben Johnson was doing his thing, even though the Lions were in the postseason. I haven't heard too much about interest. Obviously, most people were starting to talk about Zach Robinson because obviously the tie to Jared Goff. But outside of that, the Lions do a good job, man. Nobody talks a whole heck of a lot about the candidates. We don't know when they interview other than a couple reports nationally. It's good. I get it. They want to have a thorough process and do a due diligence. And I think it's good. I think that the Lions want to get a lot of information, and I think it's really great to get the likes of Kafka in here, Pete's from Seattle, and that those are the top of the heap. So to get those opportunities, I kind of want to hear that Davis Webb gets an opportunity, at least from Denver, because that's somewhere where Dan Campbell came from. So I'm hoping that maybe defensively as well, you get an opportunity there, or from the Patriots or a team that has a good defense to see about some assistance. But here's the thing, continuity is king. And I'm a little bit surprised. I thought maybe some more coaches on that staff on the Lions assistant wise might face some consequences there for that season, but maybe not, maybe more continuity.
Hey, Doc, what are your thoughts on Sheila Hamp put out a letter, owner to fans? What were your thoughts on that letter there? Did you like kind of the message that she put across towards the fans? Like, hey, we're not going to make any major changes, but we are still, we're pushing for a championship this next year.
I'm more of, naturally, listen, and to your point, Booner, you made a funny point. I'm actually, to be honest, very happy that the media portion of my job ended this week. All of a sudden, we're now in a new era where some fans want me to tell Dan Campbell to keep his head up, or to tell Sheila, good job, Sheila. You had 36 wins over 3 years. Keep it going, pal. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to be me. But maybe that's that's the next step in my evolution.
What, Doc? You're not a keep your head up kind of guy? No.
I'm gonna be. I think. Do I have to keep you guys liking me? Do I gotta be a what up, Doe one pride guy? It won't be me going viral for something like that. But the funny part was when I asked Dan Campbell, and I'm very blessed. I got lucky. when I asked him that and the media got mad, yeah, there was some noise. But at the same token, the blessing was it was balanced out with the fans that know who I am and know what I'm about. And in the end, in Detroit, I'm very thankful that there is a significant portion of the fans that want some accountability. All I heard for a good 8 days on like 10 broadcasts was, John, you are the guy that we know will ask Brad Holmes these questions, ask him this. And I'm very thankful that the noise is always going to be loud for the slappies, but that's fine. And they're going to come out and they're going to say, and I think you guys experience it too. They're going to say, they're going to quote tweet you and they're going to say, go get this guy. Go get him. He asked Dan Campbell a tough question. He deserves to have his media credentials yanked. And I go, guys, all you're doing is exposing me to your audience. And out of every 10 haters, 2 or 3 are going to be like, you know what? That guy's kind of interesting. He's kind of a nice guy. He's around. He's accessible. And so all they did when they did that was actually wink, wink. Thank you. All they did was actually expose more people to me. So I'm thankful that there is a certain level of support for, hey, John, we respect you. Ask these tough questions. And I think that ownership should stay. Like, these aren't really that tough questions. What's your strategy, guys? And even the whole competitive balance. Like, in the end, no shit. Everybody knows the Lions are looking for a center. It's not that difficult to understand. Now, is it in the draft or free agency? Okay, I get it. They want to keep it secret. But in the end, everybody knows everything. Today, you guys saw it. Dan Campbell is in that building at 3:30 on short weeks. He's sleeping there. So an opponent could tell him what is going on word by word, play by play. They still got to go out and execute. So all this secret, guys, by the end, probably by the time you guys hit my age, there's going to be full disclosure where everybody can come in. They'll let fans into practice. They'll be like, hey, for a $2,000 package, you can come watch practice and call a couple plays. It's not that intense other than, okay, hey, don't tell the name of the guy you're targeting. But most teams know to a T what every team needs and what every team wants. So I'm always of the opinion that Sheila should every year, twice a year, at the trade deadline and at the end of the season, talk to the people. We're not that bad. Listen, the doc going, Sheila, the last couple of years, the team has regressed. Are you concerned? Are you going to have more urgency with Brad and Dan to tell them to keep it moving? And it's not that big of a tough question to be direct with somebody. This is football. This is not world hunger. I'm not asking her to put more money in my pocket. I'm not asking her for a job. I'm just asking her, why aren't you winning? And I think that letters that are crafted by probably somebody else and edited is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to have a direct conversation with the owner of the football team. And I always respect that a little bit more than some letter thrown to the fans that pay you.
Yeah, that's fair. I saw Mike Valenti went off about it. You know, he was pissed. You know, to me, it's like the Sheila thing doesn't really do anything for me, Doc. I mean, we're at the point right now with this regime where I just want to see results. I'm sick of, sometimes we're overanalyzing things. In my opinion, we're probably either overreacting or some people aren't. They don't want to admit that there's actual problems. There's probably two massive differences with the sides here with Lions fan base. But I will say this, and I do want to ask you because people have some questions. Could you see the Lions being a little more aggressive? Easy does it ask. I could see the Lions trading a future first or second to get better now. Do you think the Lions will finally be a team that makes an aggressive move? Do you think that's in Brad Holmes' DNA, or do you kind of foresee a similar approach where they don't give up draft capital? Unless they absolutely want, like Carlton Davis was like a 3rd round pick. But do you see the team being a little more aggressive moving forward? Do you think Brad stays the same? Because he kind of hinted at staying the same, relatively.
Yeah, I think it'll be the same strategy. I think that in the draft, Brad's going to move. I think this is the year where at 17 you move down, maybe get into 20 and get that 3rd round pick back. And you have right now 7 picks. You're going to get, if you read on Lions NSI, you're going to get a 6th round projected compensatory pick. So you're going to have 8 picks. I think, in an article that did very well for myself as well, one of my headlines was Brad Holmes stopped cooking. Amongst the rest of the league, the last 2 years, the Lions have picked the least, meaning that they haven't taken a swing, because I know the roster is good, but you need more draft picks. So absolutely that strategy is going to change. And clearly they know. I mean, it's pretty clear. You're not going to draft projects anymore. Every pick needs to be somebody to compete. And Dan Campbell said it. We need more competition. So what ended up happening is pretty clear. You had a good roster. and you felt comfortable going into this year with it. Well, it all fell apart. You didn't grow enough. You didn't compete enough. You weren't gritty enough, and the league caught up to you and bypassed you just that fast. That's how it is. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So that's what happened with the strategy and the coaching. You can go from 15-2 to 9-8 pretty fast in this league, and that's how the league is intended. That's why everybody universally understands that's listening in the chat. It's easier to go from irrelevant to a playoff team. If you're halfway decent at your job, you can watch film and pick players and pick coaches. The hardest step, which is why you get criticized the most, the hardest step is to go from where they were as a playoff team to being great. Guys, please tell me, and I don't want to start opening this can of worms, but please tell me that Dan Campbell is not going to become Mike Tomlin, where he has a winning record every year but never wins anything. Like, I cannot bro. If they go 17 years of this and I'm 63 and Dan Campbell's still coaching without a Super Bowl, forget it. You'll just have me scream for 2 hours every single week, because that's not acceptable. This is a championship mentality. And this fan base doesn't care about sustained success as a whole. Yes, some slappies that are online that want to talk and want, the keep your head up crowd. It's very popular. It's very easy to be positive and jovial all the time. Well, we'll get them next time, people. And some of these people eventually are going to come into that meeting room and they're going to tell them, MCDC, way to go, pal. You are the man. And they're going to do that. But in the end, I'm all about one thing. What is the meter? How close is this franchise to the Super Bowl? And when you go backwards, it makes me a lot more salty, period. Real salty.
By the way, before I'm going to ask you about the playoffs, Doc. I want to bring up this question here. I didn't say that. Appreciate it. He says, Jeff, can I please get a FA drop? I got you there. He said, not feeling this offseason at all. There's so much to do. Why, Lord? Why us? Why do you want us to suffer? Hashtag McDonald. Okay. McDonald's. Here we go with the McDonald's stuff. I'll ask you, Doc, before we move on to appreciate the $5. Before we move on to mailbag, we have some questions. By the way, drop your questions for the Doc in the chat. We'll put them up for him. I want to get your thoughts on the playoffs. Bears took down the Packers. You kind of talked about it earlier, but just in general, you have Rams, Bears kind of going on this weekend. You got Seattle, 49ers. You have some great matchups in the NFC. We could talk about the AFC as well, but what have you kind of made of the playoffs so far?
Yeah, no doubt. Real fast to your favorite commenter, Maz Carpetbag. Bro, I got as many Super Bowl rings as the Lions do, so they would be fired up and they wouldn't be regressing in that sense, because in that sense, I'm probably like Dan Campbell. I wouldn't sleep. I just would be like, you know what? I want to win. I mean, didn't it get everybody more like super charged up when they got to the NFC Championship game? 2024 should have been really, man, that's just devastating. All those injuries. I just think that this organization too safe, and it's clear they're too safe. And that's why, listen, in the end, Brad Holmes now owes you 2 Super Bowls. This 25, 23, 24, 25 do not get erased from the record. They regress, bro. I'm sorry. They regress and the whole world knows it. And it's the way it is. And unfortunately, they got some work to do. And guess what, guys? They're going to change. They're going to change, which is great. They're going to change. And here's what the Slappies do, which is crazy, is they start looking at all the teams that lose in the playoffs and go, oh, look what they did. And see, we shouldn't have did that. No, I'm looking at the winners. Well, guess what? I did some math. I did some research. Here are the numbers. 12 out of 14 teams that earned a spot in the playoffs, which would be 86.2%, have a quarterback that's athletic. So that would be a start, is you need a quarterback that can extend plays. Did you notice how some of those? Did you notice that Caleb Williams on 4th and 8 had 2 feet off the ground and slinged it into a receiver's arms? Holy cow. Now he's got the ability to be a guy that can lead comebacks. Wow. You looked at some of the games and they were really enticing. I thought the Jaguars had a chance to do some things, but they came up short. Look out for them. I think they're doing the right things. It's now or never for the Bills. I'm excited. And for Maz, who seems like a slappy and seems like he's going to go into the media room, join me. And listen, if there is one, just still be my friend, because we can actually have some fun conversations in the room. And I'll be like, I'll tell you, like, hey, are you going to tell, like, I'll tell some of the guys, hey, you're going to, which one of you guys, I think we all know in this realm who the person is that's going to tell Dan to keep his head up. We all know who that person is, or those.
I'll do it.
Yeah, Booner might do it.
You told the people. You did tell. Can I tell the people what you texted me or no? Is that?
What? I already forgot what I texted you. What did I text you?
You gave me a price.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Doc said he's going to give me $1,000.
Yeah. I told Booner.
If I had to do what that reporter did to Liam Cohen, he said he'll give me $1,000. And Doc, I'm telling you what, the first time if I'm ever in a room or any type of press, 100%. I don't care. Take my credential, like, dude. Me and Jeff, we both are on the page. Like, we don't care if we have the credentials. Like, I'll be like, Dan, don't listen to any of the haters. You are the man. Like, and it'll go viral, and it'll be one of the. Honestly, it'll probably be the most viral moment out of that media room of the year. Right. Look at what just happened in Jacksonville. That's like the biggest viral moment of the year.
Right.
I would gladly do that.
It's sweet. Now, for that, Slappy, let me give you another example of how you can build a team. Did you turn on your goddamn television and watch the Patriots? They spent $100 million in free agency. Carlton Davis, Milton Williams, Harold Landry. They bought a team. 14-3 with a legendary coach, and they changed it just like that. Just like that. It can happen. I thought the Patriots need to go 3-13, 8-9. They need to wait 5 years. Come on, guys. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and they're better than you now, from now until the future. Come on, guys. You don't have to be in love with everything your team does. It's all in the name of winning. And they spent galore. They took one of your cornerbacks. They drafted better than you. They have a better quarterback than you. They got a better running back than you. They got a better tight end than you. And they were able to do it just like that because Mike Vrabel's the man. He's a winner. He's a proven winner. So I'm not saying that that's what the Lions need to do, but they need to kind of put a little nitrous in the car. Like the Lions got the nice ride. They're about to do the street race with the people, but they're not putting the nitrous in the damn car. Put the nitrous in the car. You're not going to win a race on 8 Mile in Detroit at 4 a.m. with no nitrous. I'm sorry. Put some nitrous in your ass and let's go. Add some talent. Let these people see some good. It's all we're asking for is just you don't have to use a full tank. You don't have to use a full tank of nitrous, but go put some nitrous in your car so we can speed up a little bit. Come on, man. Like, I feel like the Lions could have won a Super Bowl in this 5-year window if they just would have taken a different approach.
Wow. Put some nitrous in your ass.
Let's go. What are you waiting for? Nobody's waiting. Like, after 18 years of winning football, Mike Tomlin never had a losing season, and they were chanting fire him, and they were screaming for the last 4 years to get rid of him. It's not for long. I know some slappies will say Dan's the best coach of all time, but in the end, coaches know they're hired to be fired. It's a winning business, and winning is not getting to the playoffs, not going 9-8 and being happy. It's get this team to win a Super Bowl. That's the goal. That's the only goal. And I'm glad that Brad Holmes said that he's not sleeping great at night until he gets it. Well, sleep a lot less and get this team a Super Bowl.
Love it. All right. We got questions here. We'll start off with Maz, your guy. He says, Doc, did you think goading Dan Campbell into saying we're good was the first domino to fall and lead to a devastating season?
No. First of all, I didn't. It wasn't. Luckily, if you attribute now, I hope you don't attribute that to me. He said that on the radio. I didn't goad him into say it. I just reported what he said. In the end, everybody knows that's the philosophy was they fell in love with their own guys. No, their decision making, which is it's just not good enough. It's clear. The roster building strategy, the decision making, the organizational philosophy was not good enough to be elite. It was good enough to get you off the mat. Now they must adapt. And if they don't adapt, you're going to become the Steelers or the Ravens. And I hope it produces one. But if you add a little nitrous to this mix, it's just a little spice, man. It's just a little bland chili. If you just add a little kick, it'll be 5-star Michelin quality, man, and everyone will be happy. You can't go out there and sell these people on DJ Reed, Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton. Those are not free agent moves. Roy Lopez. Those are not Super Bowl moves. I'm sorry, guys. It's just it's a fact. The world sees it. That recipe The we're good recipe is the recipe for regression. You got to mix in quality free agents and no project drafts, no injured guy drafts, and one trade a year. That's all we're asking. And it's not even that far away. It sounds like it because these guys are scared, but I think if they just figure out their free agent guru, they'll figure it all out.
Next question. Burning issue says, Doc, Tracy Walker was never the same after his Achilles. C branch. Joseph's knee seems to be ending his career. Laporta's back injury can't be good for a tight end. Our line's looking to replace all three.
Yeah, it's great. And second of all, to Wilson, that's not my job. My job is to say big picture. Now, if I spent all day looking at free agents, I'd probably give them some. Hell, I would spend galore. I would be like, we're getting Trey Hendrickson. We're getting this guy, that guy. Listen, we'll go through the entire Rolodex of free agents until it happens. I'm not going to go zero. So come on. You got to rebuild. Safety is a position you got to look at in the draft. I think they will. Maybe free agency as well. Tight end. I know some people are clamoring for TJ Hawkinson to come back. I was a little bit of a name, a blast from the past to think about that. Laporta, I think, will be good. I think I'm fingers crossed one of these guys injured has to be able to come back. I'm concerned about Joseph. When you hear, it's swirling around and nobody's given a definitive on his true nature of the injury. But if it's a definitive degenerative injury, that's going to be tough for long-term success. So we shall see. I'm confident that Laporta can at least have a nice run. He's going to do everything it takes. Brian Branch, you never know with an Achilles. Tracy Walker, you guys know, is never the same. And that position requires you to be, twitchy and moving at a good pace. But I'm hoping that Branch's recovery and the fact that he's still young will give him an opportunity. But unfortunately, his bag is not going to be secured. You just roll out the contract and you play it out.
Wilson says, Doc asked Sheila if Brad and Dan are gone the hot seat. Bro, what are you thinking? Remember this? Well, that was at a time where they were kind of the patience thing, right? Is that when you asked at that time?
No, I didn't ask if they're on the hot seat at all. No, come on, guys, clean out your ears. Don't listen. I know I'm the more direct line of questioner, but I didn't ask if Brad and Dan are on the hot seat. I asked Brad the second question at the end. I said, Brad, have you met with Sheila? And did she sit you two fellas down and tell you we need more urgency? That's it. I think that's a very fair,
I think it's a fair question, actually.
It's a very fair question because
I think a lot of people are wondering that.
Yeah, in the end, I'm telling him directly, you need to be more urgent. You don't get, listen, even Sheila is not going to let this go on for 8, 9, 10 years. They don't win in year 6 or year 7. The fans will dictate a removal. Sorry, Wilson, that's the way it goes. You don't get forever in this league, and the Lions can find better quickly. This cycle of coaches goes by quickly, and there might be some really good coaches available in the coming years. So it's time to win. So in the end, I did not ask if they're on the hot seat. They're not on the hot seat. But next year, if they don't make a deep run, the fans are going to let them know. And guess what, Wilson? It wasn't me booing in the stands this year. They were booing loudly. It wasn't me. I'm professional. I'm in the press box just typing and tweeting Booner.
Doc, you've booed in the press box. Come on.
No, I've never booed in the press box.
Yeah, no, you've booed in the press box.
I am professional.
Doc's up there just booing in the press box.
All the reporters looking at him like,
Jesse says, Doc Mailbag, don't you agree Foxy on McAfee's show is the biggest line slappy on shout out Foxy, man. Planet Earth. He says, you see Pat is still butthurt. Dan didn't go on his show. And then his second question, will you be MSU at MSU U of M b-ball game in East Lansing?
Hell yeah, I'm trying to go to both. I have covered college basketball. I put in the credential for both games. I haven't checked lately in regards to the status of that. This week was, if you see my increased energy, was the first week I've had like a breath of fresh air. I'm so happy that the media coverage ended. It ended at the right time. I was right at the end. Like if the Lions would have made a playoff run, I was like, oh man, I would have had to put some nitrous in my tank because
in your what?
Where were you
my
tank?
Oh, okay.
In my tank. I know you guys are sickos out there. It was right at the right time. It was nice to kind of relax a little bit, sleep till like 8:30 in the morning. Listen, Evan Foxy is great. He's a good dude. And listen, even though we disagree with Slappies sometimes and they're overly positive, we know their sports denial is because they can't handle the truth. And the blessing is that I'm a guy that can easily handle the truth. I mean, I'm 46 years old. I've seen the team go 0-16. I can handle the truth and I can see it. I can smell it from a mile away. Like I'm not, my radar for defunctory behavior is pretty spot on. And the Slappies just don't want to believe it because they're in denial. Now I'm a trained professional. I know how to handle my emotions. I get over it quickly. I was mad after the Eagles game for about 6 hours. By the time 6 a.m. hit, I said, all right, it's on to next year. Let's start the draft plans. It wasn't that long to realize, okay, this isn't going to happen this year. I completely detached from the hope that the Lions were going to win a Super Bowl after the Eagles game. And I said, okay, why is it happening? It was pretty clear why. And I don't have to make excuses. I didn't sell bullshit to the fans and tell the fans they were going to win 3 games in a row and get to the postseason. And I would never sell hope at that level. My worst thing was I got excited when Dan Campbell called plays against the Commanders. I felt, okay, this could be a good thing. And then that quickly got derailed in the next couple games when the coaching and the in-game decisions didn't get that much better. So
you don't like Dan Orlovsky? You don't think
no, it's not going to listen, that was actually some insider stuff. That's funny it would be the same thing if we were sitting together and Booner was in that same spot. I would do the same thing. I'd be like, Booner, you should be the offensive coordinator as well. It's friends talking. It's never going to happen.
How do you think I would do if I got that job?
Listen, man, you'd probably work your tail off and be really, really good. And you probably be like a Jim Bob Cooter who ends up, in one of those places, being good, but maybe just needing that one extra job, the next job where you go on to another opportunity, like with the Falcons and blow up.
Takes his talent to the UFL.
Takes his talent to the UFL, right? Takes his talent. No. Booner then would take his talent to Michigan State and win us a natty, baby.
Oh, there you go. July says, Doc, predicting how many wins for next season?
Listen, let's start the Slappy trade. Listen, I'm going to start with the basics. It's a weaker schedule. Start with 10-7. I feel like everyone's going to be motivated. Everyone's going to be really, really frustrated with what happened. It's a weaker schedule. I like the fact that you're playing some of these teams. You're playing the Titans, Giants, Cardinals, a lot of opportunities. And I do think that the rage that they're going to have for the Packers, Vikings, the division is not, you're not going to go 1 or 2 wins in the division next year. You're going to get at least 3. The question mark is going to be, what position is that foreign game? Who do you play? Who is the team that you get to play overseas, and how does that affect your schedule? Because going overseas is always an interesting proposition that takes place. So I'm curious to see, but I feel like the wake up call was so jarring. I mean, you went backwards in a drastic way that there's no way it's staring you in the face. It's clearly staring you in the face that you got to make changes, and I hope that they do.
We had what was this? Oh, right here. Easy says, who's your Super Bowl matchup, Doc?
Oh man. I'm in love with that Houston defense. As a defensive guy, oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
You can, I think everybody watches that and goes, man, that's brutal defense. That's nice. So I think the Texans can gain some momentum if they can get. I'm curious about Nico Collins. He's always in that boat where, like a Jaden Reed, it's like the Michigan contingent is always in and out of the tent. You hope that he can come back and has an opportunity to do the job. I like Houston on that side. NFC, man, because the football gods hate me. They truly hate me. They truly hate me. It's going to be the Rams, and you probably believe that. When you see how they play, Stafford's balling out. They got great tight ends. They got a great running back. They got the great backup. Blake Corum, LLC, is doing his thing. They have just an amazing overall coach that does everything. And I think that, for Lions fans, what was the worst kick in the nuts ever? I mean, some of you guys loved it. I think true Lions fans hated seeing Stafford win a Super Bowl, not in a Lions uniform. So I think he's going to have another opportunity to get back there again. But this time around, the Texans will do some damage in the Super Bowl.
Reversion says, Doc, is it true you really have a one pride tattoo? Please say it isn't so.
No, I do not have a one pride. That would be funny, right? That's how I go out. I'll be like, Dan, I want to let you know I just got a one pride tattoo. Go get them, MCDC. It's your year. One pride, baby. That's how I'm going out, baby. No, I do not have a one pride tattoo. And I know, right? When you hear me, you're like, God dang, that guy hates the team. Listen, I hate losing. I hate losing more than, and I think that's the mark of I was
which is fair. We all hate losing.
You hate losing more than you like winning. And the Lions, in the end, this for me is my second go round of this. I went through it with the Stafford era. Remember, if you guys don't remember, they had a nice run in 2011. Stafford had 5,000 yards. Everybody's like, hey, keep it going. You get Calvin Johnson, you get Ndamukong Suh, and they get the Cowboys game, and they were like, yeah, let's go in 2015. And the 14 season was promising. And then in 2015, they didn't make the playoffs. So for me, this is like the second, third go around. The reason why I'm so easily able to tell you why the Lions are defunct is this is the third time I'm seeing it. This is the third round of this nonsense. It's more of the same. That's why we're screaming, do something effing different. This is the first round for all these online slappies that are like, oh, the window stays open forever. We got Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, people. It's like, guys, come on, man. I got 15 years on you guys. I got a whole round extra on you guys. So cut me some slack for my negativity. I've already been through this cycle of hope, contention, rising, hoping, and then falling flat on your face. This is my third go around with it. This is my third time going, please add more talent. And these guys are like, no, we're good. The slappies are on their third round of the people in my age group are like, yeah, they still can do it. They still can just draft all the guys they want and ignore free agency and ignore the trade deadline, and we're going to win it. I'm like, okay, guys, this is the third round for me, and it hasn't happened yet. Can we try some nitrous, baby? Can we try something a little different, a little more aggressive? And I'll be happier that you tried more than this. This just produces anger. What they did over these last 3 years should piss off every Lions fan. It should piss you off because you told the team do more. You told the team to do more. You all did, and I did, and everybody that has a brain said you need more talent. This is the NFL is like the supreme creme de la creme of competition, and you went into the street race with no nitrous. Shame.
Yeah, that's fair. Wayne says, Doc, any interest in taking a down year stacking picks and trading up to get Arch Manning?
Now that is high level type stuff that I don't know if I could do in regards. I don't know. Like, listen, I'm not opposed to it. But it's got to. You have to do it right because you're talking about a 4-year setback, and I would rather wing it with Goff and try to be more aggressive in your talent than going with a true rookie. I would consider it with maybe maybe Archie Manning's end up being the guy, but you never know. This quarterback evaluation has been tougher than even I thought. These quarterbacks have some skills you like, some you don't. I do think Mendoza has a chance to be successful, but I like the fact I'm proud of Dante Moore for going back to college. It's a great decision. I'm very curious where Chambliss ends up and what kind of career he's going to have in the NFL.
Yeah, everybody wants Chambliss in Detroit.
You got to have some. Listen, not mobile quarterback. You just have to be able to extend plays. That's all you got to be able to do is you got to be able to throw on the run, and it's a tough trade. It's not that easy.
No, it's not.
Can you do it?
Can I throw on the run at a whopping 5'5" and 190 pounds?
Doc couldn't see over Khalif.
Imagine Doc in his cargo shorts running and throwing a football.
No. I'm the Mike Allstott, baby. I'm the one with the big shoulder pads, and I'm gonna block for my man to get the touchdown. I'm the fullback.
You call yourself baby. Mike Allstott.
I'm Mike Allstott, baby. I'm the fullback, baby. I'm going to blow people up, and I'm going to set the line, and I'm going to be like, let's go. My teammate's going to score all the touchdowns. I don't need anything, no credit. I want to rough some people up.
How do you feel about, by the way, this is just a question for me. Like, how do you feel about Michigan? Like, do you like what they're doing? As a state guy, listen, I know you're a state guy, but it's good for me sometimes to get a perspective of even a rival team. Like, hey, does it feel like everything's going in the right direction? I know you hate Michigan and you say, all these bad things, but it feels like they fixed the issues, like the blue wall thing. It's like, all right, maybe they actually did the right thing for once.
Yeah, no, it's good. First of all, keeping Underwood was a good idea. First of all, I think it's great that they're going to actually get a quarterback coach.
Crazy. Is that not, Doc?
That's the craziest thing I think I've ever heard.
Ever.
It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. But we all know, Booner, booty before duty is the Michigan way. So we all got to focus.
The Michigan State way.
Michigan State way too. Now I think Whittingham is going to take it seriously. And adult is in the room. It's a good thing. I was a little bit surprised. Justice Haynes, I think, at Georgia Tech. I'm a little bit surprised that they ponied up some money. But I think you guys added, a 5-star running back, so it made it a little easier. You guys are just like the running back factory. But Michigan, I think that in the end, it's so true. Michigan sells itself. You guys have a great idea, which is, hey, win in the trenches, run the football, and if you can just add quarterback talent and get the offense up to speed, Michigan's always going to have the resources to be able to succeed. So their comeback should be quite quick. You guys need sympathy for me. I also rooted for the Lions and the Spartans. We had a nice 6-year run, and that was great. We let out our joy and we puffed our chest out, and then we got a swift kick in the nuts back down to reality, where our best coach also put booty before duty, and he was actually beating Michigan. So it hurts more in that he could have chose anybody in the world to do those kind of things with, anybody, and he chose a vendor from the program. I was like, geez, he actually had he probably would have cheated to a championship. He would have did it all. He would have done some recruiting violations. He would have secured the bag. He would have probably had Connor Stallion's clone as the scouting guy. We were on our way, and Booty took him down too. So will be interesting. I did like Fitzgerald's speech. It was a little corny in the we're reborn, but it was nice to see on film a little bit of energy. We're reborn. So I'm excited to see college football, but man, it's tough because in the end, I've covered now professional sports for a decade. College is going that way where pretty soon, guys, it's going to happen, when it probably has, but on a lower level. But eventually this rivalry is going to get to the point where I think Michigan will do it first. Hell, I hope Michigan State does it. Just for the sake of rivalry, Michigan is going to pilfer Michigan State's talent, and the other way around. Pretty soon it's going to be where just like Ben Johnson went to the Bears, you might have it one day where a player at the level of Bryce Underwood goes, I make $2 million this year at Michigan. I'll take $5 million and I'll play at Michigan State the next year, and he'll have no problem with it. That sucks because I was more into college athletics being about loyalty, and the college athletics, and the downfall really was when it stopped really meaning about the color of the uniform and the logo, and it meant more about the name on the back. And when that happened and it went to, hey, everybody gets their dollar, it's just professional now. You can just go, and if you had, $50 million, you can pretty much buy yourself an opportunity to get to the playoff. I don't like that, but that's why Indiana is a beautiful story, and one in which I hope they pay it off. They went with the strategy of securing talent that are older, 4th and 5th year seniors. They built a team with no 5-star. So that's kind of how it's been in college basketball, where Michigan State used to have that success, where they would have the seniors stick with it and play good basketball, and they would make a run to the Final Four, where all these teams with the Caliparis were the one and dones. Teamwork in football typically will trump out entitlement and building a team, but we shall see. Pretty soon it's going to be where it's just going to be free agency, and it's going to be the similar type talk. These guys will do press conferences where they're signing, and they're going to have agents talk for them, and it's going to be pro style, and it takes a little bit of the luster away in my opinion.
Well, Doc, we appreciate the hell out of you, my friend. You keep up the great work.
Legend, man.
Yeah, just keep crushing it, man. You got an offseason to cover. Enjoy some of the downtime. I know you're not really a ton of downtime because the Lions are still going to make some moves in the future, but we appreciate the hell out of you. We'll catch you next Wednesday.
I look forward to it. Like I said, we're going strong. Articles, visit Lions on SI, whatever you think of it. I honestly do believe in this whole grand media world. I do think I'm fair. Yes, I am screaming loud, but it's all in the name of winning. And it's all through the prism of how does this Lions team get to a better spot? I only want better. I only want good, better, best for the Detroit Lions.
There you go. The
wow. There's no way.
We'll catch you.
He just hit the Ben Johnson and left.
Well, by the way, do you see this clip? I just saw it on my Twitter. Sean McVay was asked whether or not Matt LaFleur is going to help him this week when he faces Ben Johnson. Here's his answer.
Yeah.
He's played Ben Johnson 3 times this year.
Yeah. What would you guess? No, you know what? We watch the tape, we do our work, and Matt is a very close friend of mine.
Dude, They want to beat his ass, man.
Wow, dude.
They want to beat his ass.
That's actually insane. Like, not insane, but like,
I know Matt LaFleur is like, listen, man, like, you don't think Matt LaFleur, offensive guy, is going to talk to Sean like what he saw from the defense? Like, you know what I mean? This is what we
for sure
got a lot of from Ben's offense, whatever. Like,
probably
dude,
both sides of the ball.
Matt
LaFleur could help with.
Yeah,
and also, who's the offensive coordinator for the Rams?
Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur's brother. It's like Matt's going to do everything in his power to help the Rams win this football game. For Jay Hart that missed it, essentially he was asked if Matt LaFleur is going to help him. His response was, "What would you guess?" That he was joking. He said, "No, you know what? We watch the tape, we do our work, and Matt is a very close friend of mine." Everyone started laughing because they know, dude. Like, Matt LaFleur got eliminated by this dude. You don't think like,
and the whole Ben Johnson thing after, like, you know, Matt LaFleur is steaming, dude. He can't get his own get back, so he's like, "I'll do everything in my power to make sure these guys just don't advance any further."
Dude, oh, they're gonna want vengeance, dude.
What if the Bears win, dude? That's like a nightmare of mine. I texted you guys right after the game last week, driving home from our watch party, and I was like, the Bears actually might be in the NFC Championship game. Like, that's insane to think.
Something's weird about that line. That line.
It's 3, dude. 3.5.
It's a weird line.
Are you out on Pick'em, by the way? Like, are you just like, I'm giving up? Like,
there's no reason. I mean, I probably will. What I'll do is I'll probably give my legit picks. Like, I want to get back to like giving picks.
Yeah.
But it just won't.
There's 7 games left. You're down, I think, maybe 4 still.
I'll just fade Caleb and everything, but then I'll give my actual pick. Because like last week, I think I had one of teams I actually thought was gonna win. I thought the Eagles would actually win. That was my this week,
dude. If Caleb finishes 2 and let me do this math. There's 7 left. If he finishes 2 and 5, you pass him.
Yeah, I just have to.
And there's a chance, dude. Caleb's been bad in Pick'em at some points. He's gone on stretches where he's like lost like 7, 8 straight. So you're not like, I don't think you're like completely dead.
Part of me wishes I would have picked the games like the Steelers. If I would have picked the Texans, would I be one less down? But it's like I have to go that route, you know. Like,
yeah,
it's like I could be one game better, but
did you go back and look at like your actual picks, like what you would have been?
Yeah, I only had one loss. It was the Eagles game
with your actual picks.
Yeah,
you should have just done that then, because he ended up losing 2 or 3. So you would have caught back up. You'd only been 2 down.
Then we start. I don't know, bro. See, you told me you're the commish. You're telling me I got.
I'm the commish. I'm not your coach. I don't tell you. I'm not your GM.
Well,
that's your team.
You got to fade his.
Yeah, I just said, like, dude, you have to like be aware. Like, you can either do your picks or you can fade because you have to pass. Like, and you essentially put pressure on him to get him right. But if you went your picks, dude, I'm pretty sure I can go back and look. I'm pretty sure he went. Let me check real quick. Let me double check, because that's gonna actually haunt you forever.
It's just whatever, bro. I'm literally rattled. I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know what to do. I don't.
Caleb, he picked. Oh no, actually, sorry.
He had a good week.
He went 5-1.
We had the same record. It would be
me. I went 5-1. He went 5-1, and you went 3-3.
Yeah.
So you're basically out of it.
Because I would have picked. I picked Panthers. I would have picked Panthers to cover that game.
I think you automatically lose. I mean, there's 7 games left. You're 6 games back.
I would have picked Panthers. I would have picked Texans. And what was the other one I picked? That I tried to be hot shit. What was it?
Not the Bears. You took the Bears. Oh, yeah, you took the Rams. I can pull it up here real quick. I have your picks.
I think I know I would have picked the Eagles every time. So that's a loss. I would have lost.
You picked the Rams, Chicago, the Bills.
I would have did all that.
The Eagles.
That would have stuck. I would have picked the Eagles.
Yeah, and you took New England and Pittsburgh.
That would have stuck. And so I only would have had one loss if I would have. So me and Caleb would be tied. So I guess it would whatever.
You went 3-3, so
it's fine. Whatever, bro.
You're essentially out of it. I mean, maybe the commission will make up a rule that every game is worth like 4 on the last 7 games.
Caleb he'd hate that. We did give him a game that was 2 points. Yeah, we're gonna forget that.
No, it was 1 point. I only made it 1 point.
Remember we gave him a bonus game and he got a bonus game?
But the bonus game, to be fair, and remember I brought up the thing of the bonus game, he had one less pick than us total throughout the year.
Oh, okay.
So that pick caught him back up to so we all had the exact because he had a couple months ago he had texted me his picks because he wasn't on the show. He forgot to put a pick in there. He just left the game out. So that kind of caught him back up.
Got it.
So he's bet the same amount of games as us now.
We'll see. I'll do pick them this week. We'll see what happens. What strategy?
Is there any other way to pick them? We could try and just get this thing to get mixed up a little bit, or no?
No, I mean I don't know. It would probably. We'll think about it. It's gonna be tough. We'll get creative. If you think of anything, bring it up on Friday. We'll have a meeting before we do. Appreciate you all. Appreciate the doc. We'll be back tomorrow as always. Stay updated with the Lions coordinator search on our YouTube channel. You hit the subscribe button, like the stream before you go. Please hit the like button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Follow us on social media platforms. It's all in the description. Get your merchandise, officialctsports.com. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Subscribe.
Until then,
love you guys. See you tomorrow. Be safe out on those roads. Mike McDaniel.